Hi, my name is Steve Hinchin, and I'm the owner of Vintage Trailer Supply. And we're going to try something new here. We're going to actually try to do some YouTube videos to try to explain not just some of our products, but also some of the problems you might face when you're looking at doing a restoration on your vintage trailer. Today we were going to start with one of the things that we get the most calls about, which is the lock sets on your front doors, the old Bargman brand lock sets. There are other brands of locks out there, but far and away the most common lock used on vintage trailers are made by the Bargman company. And to make your life a little harder, Bargman company, which is still in business, discontinued all lock sets, and the final ones they discontinued at the beginning of 2011. So starting with 2011, everything you can find on lock sets is going to be used, reconditioned, eBay, salvage kind of thing. So it's very important that we understand the locks so we can restore them whenever possible. Bargman used a system to identify the locks that starts with an L, L66, L100. And those are the model numbers. So I've put together here a collection of almost all the locks that they've produced through the years, and I'm going to walk through these in numerical order. The ones I'm skipping are the very early L54, L53 or 5, L50s. The L50s were used in the 1940s and 1950s. Sometimes people think of those as the H20s, and they were used in the mid-50s on Airstreams and other trailers. I don't have that one here because it's rare. The earliest locks we see are the L66, and Airstreamers didn't use L66s, but they're very prevalent on other brands of trailers. This is what that looks like. It's probably the most common lock set found on trailers. And it's a horizontal rectangle, and it uses a pull-out handle to operate it, just like that. There's several styles of the L66. The earliest one, found in the early 1950s, is this one, which looks very similar but has a more deco, kind of torpedo look to it. And then it evolved over time into a blockier kind of look. These were used very heavily in the 1950s and 1960s. Today, the only parts that are available for these, really, at least new, is what we sell, which is we've had the main latch bolt that goes in and out the side of the lock. We've had that reproduced, and we do sell that as a replacement part. However, we expect to be bringing on more parts in the future for these. They're just not available yet, and we know that people really need them, so we're going to work on it. And the same latch bolt's used in the 2 or 3 different styles. The other piece that you would like to find on these is the cylinder and keys. And on the newer styles, the ones that look like this typically, which have a round cylinder, perfectly round cylinder on it, you can't get keys and cylinders for those. The older styles used a style that has a different style of cylinder. It actually has a little, can't get that one out of there, has a little notch out on the side of the cylinder. And we do have something on our website that shows this picture of these two side by side. This cylinder is still available, so we can supply you with that cylinder. So those are really, that's really your only options on the L66. Handles break, this door edge guide breaks, and it's just the way it is. So take very good care of these locks. After the L66, Bargman came out with the L77. Even rarer than probably the old H20s. The L77 looks very much like an L66, but the difference is it's a vertical lock. The latch bolt comes out, in and out, the side of the lock, like that. Not interchangeable, not even the same cutout style in the door, cutout size in the door. So really not the same locks, even though they resemble each other. L77s are very precious, used on a few trailers around 1960, 1961, as early as 1959, I believe, on Airstream. And we see them on some Can-Hams and other brands of trailer. Really nice lock, very heavy duty. Nothing's available for it at all right now, except for that cylinder again. Cylinder and keys on all L77s we can supply still. The one that came out after the L77 would be the L100, L200. This is a lock that you may recognize from a lot of Can-Ham trailers and Airstreams and other trailers. It has a almost square back plate, almost a square cutout, slightly rectangular, and has a knob on the outside. In a few cases, this lock was customized by some of the manufacturers to, instead of having a knob, they might have a branded lever on it. This one happens to say Airstream on it. I've seen them with Streamline on them, and also sometimes it's just a lever with no branding on it at all. Regardless, this is the same lock, and it's pretty much unmistakable by the rectangular backplate. So if you have a cutout that's kind of a squarish, almost square rectangular cutout, if you have a cutout like that, this was your lock. It also evolved over time. The earlier ones were made by the Chesler company, and then the Bargman company took it over. If you have an older style, around 1965, 66, 67, you'll have a smooth round knob on the outside instead of this with this kind of textured serrated grip on it. On the inside of this lock, you'll either have a knob, or in some cases you'll have a lever. Oops, don't have my lever version. There's also sometimes has a small lever inside to operate from the inside. If it had a lever on the inside, it's called an L200, and if it has a knob on the inside, it's called an L100. It's the same lock. The only difference is that handle on the inside. Again, several variations made through the years, and on the older locks, we have a few keys and cylinders left from new old stock, but very few. So effectively, there's not much left on these to get. And on the newer locks, nothing. Sadly, these are virtually disposable locks. There's just not much, and the tolerances as they were making them through the years got worse and worse. So they're not even well built, unfortunately, but that's all there is. If you do have the older style, and again, you can recognize it by circular cylinder versus a cylinder that has a more of a notch out on the cylinder. If you have the notch out style, give us a call. We might have a cylinder left for you. It's not the same as the other notch out on the L66, but we do have a few. Airstream and maybe one other brand, I can't remember which one, did a specialized latch bolt on the side of this thing. If you look at these two side by side, you'll see that they are very similar, but look at that. One has a much longer latch bolt, and they're still the same lock, but the latch bolt has been replaced in these by the Airstream company, or by Bargman probably originally, with an extra long one. I think it's about an inch or an inch and a half longer. That's the only difference between them. We've had those machined, so we actually have some very nice reproductions of those old ones available. So you could take one of these locks, if you found one on eBay for a couple $100 or whatever it is, and put this in it and make one for your late 60s Airstream. The reason this was done is because Airstream had gone to a cast framing inside their door, and when they did that, they had to move the lock further away from the edge of the door. So moving it further away from the edge of the door required that they needed a longer latch bolt. And that was done only starting in 1965 through 69 on Airstreams. 64 would have something different, 70 and on would have something different. All right, so that takes care of the L100, L200.